Shanks captured Loki to become a YONKO. Loki is quite easily one of the most ferocious individuals in the One Piece world. Fans were introduced to Loki first in the Whole Cake Island arc. However, very little was known about him back then, and it was certainly not enough to make anything of his personality. If anything, Loki was seen as a giant with quite a big heart, and this is because he fell in love with Lola and even offered her flowers. Of course, this was a huge gesture from Loki, and it just goes to show that despite everything, Loki is an individual capable of falling in love. He is unlike the villainous entities that fans have seen in the story so far. Murdered his own father and ate the devil fruit. Giants regardless, all that mattered little, because Lola went to sea on her own and rejected Loki's advances. Immediately after, the marriage pact between the Big Mom pirates and the giant warrior pirates essentially crumbled, and while Big Mom tried to salvage it by shipping off Chiffon to marry Loki, her plan did not work. The relationship between the giants and the Big Mom pirates soured even further, and ever since then, it has stayed the same. Meanwhile, fans did not get to see or hear anything about Loki ever since. But, in the Elbaf arc, it was inevitable for Loki to be brought up. Fans did not expect Loki to come up as soon as Elbaf began, but it was certainly a welcome surprise. Immediately upon Loki's introduction, fans found out about the brutalities he's committed, such as going on to murder his own father, the king of Elbaf, King Harold. He did all this to consume a legendary devil fruit that was being passed down the royal line in Elbaf. It is unknown if this devil fruit was being consumed by every successor, or if it was just being preserved. It is likely that it was simply being preserved and being kept for a special someone who would come in the future. Loki most likely believed himself to be the special someone and decided to consume it. After successfully consuming the devil fruit and gaining its powers, the entirety of Elbaf turned against him. Unfortunately for them, Loki was already too strong at this point, and it required the effort of the entire country to subdue him. Loki could not be put to death, and instead was chained in the underworld of the country. Loki has been tied to the treasure tree Atom since, with sea prism stone chains, which essentially means that he cannot free himself without external help. Shanks and Loki's past connection in One Piece Chapter 1131. Loki clearly indicates that he has met Shanks. Those guarding Loki suggested that Shanks came to the underworld of Elbaf 6 years ago. It is unknown at what point Loki was captured and by whom. However, fans were told that it happened sometime, 6 years ago. It is entirely possible that the one who aided in his imprisonment was none other than red-haired Shanks. Some fans might remember that 6 years ago, Dory and Brigitte were most definitely not on Elbaf, meaning their strength would have been limited. Even the elder giant Jarul was way too weak to take part in combat. This means that Elbaf was left with not too many strong warriors, and that is precisely why the country could have struggled to imprison Loki. But, that is where Shanks could have come in. If Shanks was in Elbaf 6 years ago, then, it is entirely possible that he helped to imprison Loki by combating him himself. I've been chained here for 6 years now. It is quite interesting that Oda revealed Shanks to have come to the underworld Elbaf 6 years ago. For those who do not remember, the time when Shanks became an emperor was also 6 years ago. This essentially means that Shanks became a Yonko around the same time that he met Loki, and it is also possible that these two things might have something to do with each other. It must also be remembered that the world government had a 2.6 billion berry special bounty on Loki's head back during this time. This bounty has most certainly not been updated since, because Loki has been kept under strict watch and has not even moved a muscle. This essentially means that Shanks battled Loki 6 years ago, and perhaps it is news of this event, on top of Shanks having declared Elbaf as his territory, that eventually made him one of the 4 emperors of the sea.